YTBC, what's the deal? So I'm on boxing.com and I see that either David Haye is just keeping himself in the news, or maybe you know how boxing scene is. Sometimes they pull up an old article and take a quote from that article and make it a whole new article. But either way, he's on boxing scene, so his news, his his voice is out there in the news, nevertheless. But I'm gonna read a little bit of this article, then I'm gonna go into it. All right, he says it might be a one round job. I'm not saying that in a disrespectful manner. You know, as soon as I hit people on the chin, they stay hit. I hit them, they hit the floor. That's how it happens. It depends how long he can stay up for. I'm very fast, very agile, and I punch ridiculously hard. So when you put those combinations together with the young guy, I was heavyweight champion of the world before he even started boxing. It's an interesting one, he told BBC Radio, okay? Um, then Haye gave his thoughts on the upcoming fight between Martin and Joshua. He said Martin will be a true test. He also went on to say he's one of the best in the world and will fight out on April 9th. I believe they meant to say we'll figure out on April 9th how good he is, said Haye. I believe he is the real deal. Everybody who has seen him, there's not really much you can take from that and go, no, he's not much good because of X, Y, and Z. He has 15 fights, 15 knockouts. I've been supporting him from the start. I love to get in the ring and see just how good he really is. If he wins his next fight, I'm pretty positive the public will demand. We will say we got to get the two best in there. Well, first of all, I wouldn't say that you're one of the best, David Haye, but you know, it's David Haye promoting himself. I wouldn't expect him to say anything less. Um, and I don't know what public would necessarily demand this fight. Maybe some UK fans, maybe I'm not really in tune with what's going on over there as far as the feeling for this Haye versus Joshua fight. And don't get me wrong, it's a fight that I would definitely watch. I'm not saying I wouldn't watch it, but I'm not necessarily saying as soon as Joshua wins this, I don't really think there's going to be a huge outcry for Joshua versus David Haye. I could be wrong, maybe I am wrong. But as far as David Haye saying he's going to knock him out one round, I don't think Anthony Joshua's Mark DeMore, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of guys that David Haye couldn't knock out in one round. Even Enzo Maccarinelli made it to the second round. Even Ali Harrison, who made it to the third round. You know, John Ruiz made it 9. Derek Chisora made it to the 5th round. So, I mean, Monty Barrett made it to the 5th round. John Mormet, who spent his career cruiserweight, made it to the 7th round. So, I'm not necessarily, you know, going to agree with David Haye, but anything can happen in the heavyweight division. Don't get me wrong. Haye has been keeping Joshua's name in his mouth, and he's doing a great job of, like I said, you know, he's trying to micromanage who Joshua should and shouldn't fight through the media. So I can't get mad at David Haye because he's, you know, he knows what he wants, and he wants the big name out there right now as far as popularity. And we've seen that Anthony Joshua sold 400 pay-per-view buys. Now we can argue that, hey, the pay-per-views in the UK aren't like the ones in America. They're far less cheaper, so therefore more guys or more people will pay for the pay-per-view. Fine, but it was still 400,000 fucking people, no matter how you try to slice the dice it. So Joshua does have a huge, you know, popularity, and Haye knows that, so he wants to ride that wave and get the fight while he's undefeated. And it'd be, you know, even better if he has that title if he beats Charles Martin. So David Haye saying this is just David Haye talking. I mean, besides a guy like Mark DeMore, and DeMore threw about 4 punches in that fight, and I think one fight grazed David Haye on his glove. You know, so to me, David Haye is still inactive. You know what I mean? Even though he came back and beat Mark DeMore, his last fight was 2012, in my opinion. Yes, his last fight technically was last month, but his last fight where somebody actually tried to hit him back was 2012. And then his fight before the Chisora fight was a year after, before that against Vladimir. So this dude's been pretty inactive in the last 5 years, since 2011. You know, if you want to be honest. And I know he was out with the injury, but I'm just saying, you know. But this isn't really news. It's David Haye just being David Haye, very confident about himself, and he thinks he can pick this kid off right now. That's why he wants to fight this year, because Haye wanting to fight in 2017, 18 may be too late. And maybe it's too late right now. Who knows? But David Haye thinks with his hand speed and experience that he can jump on top of Anthony Joshua and take advantage of some of his deficiencies defensively, as far as standing straight up and not moving his head as much as I think he should, and a lot of other fans. And on his feet, he can be a little robotic on his feet, but Joshua has a lot there, a long reach, excellent power, young, strong, has a motor, he's hungry, and he has a punch that can definitely put your lights out. Although some people have argued a lot of Joshua's knockout victories, guys were getting up, the refs stopped the fight too fast, refs stopping fights with guys on their feet. Some people say, hey, Mr. Boxing, the ref was saving those guys for getting, totally smashed and knocked out. Whatever the case, nobody wants to get hit clean by Anthony Joshua. Just put it that way, all right? But David Haye saying this is just David Haye keeping Anthony Joshua name out there, and the matchup between him and Joshua a possibility. YTBC. I'm out.